So my family starts here with my parents, Yoli Hernandez and Venus Tanyag, and their courtship back in the Philippines when they lived in the Batangas barrio. So my parents didn't know of each other in person. They actually knew of each other through friends, and it was a pretty common custom for my mom to have suitors that want to pursue her for marriage. And she had a couple of suitors. My dad was one of them. He was not in the barrio, the village, essentially, at the time. He was actually already working for the U.S. Navy in the States. He was very poor when he grew up. We used to joke him all the time when he would tell us stories, but no, he was legitimately very poor, was a beggar on the side of the street, and had a hard time even finding food, got food from his neighbors, and his dad was illiterate. And anyways, my dad has very much a triumphant story of coming to the U.S. Navy, eating bananas to make weight, and then throwing everything he had in the ocean, and pursuing that he was going to make a better life for him and his family. So he didn't have a family until he met my mom, which he wrote her love letters and then would come off the ship to walk her home. And he would write letters and walk her home when he would come to the port. And then the last letter he wrote, he asked her, "Will you marry me?" Well, my mom said yes, thinking that it would be a couple years before he came back. But he actually came back a couple months, and within days they were married. So that is their story. So when my mom and dad got married, they were actually long distance for 3 years, which is pretty common when you meet a lot of foreign couples or foreign families. They're willing to do long distance, even across the water. So my mom was in the Philippines, living in a house that my dad bought her with her mom. And then my dad was still on the U.S. Navy in the ships, going to various stations and being on the ship and then coming to the Philippines when they were at port. Well, my dad and mom had two kids in the Philippines. My mom's first baby, Venelin, which is my eldest sister, actually passed away when she was just a young baby. And so it was really hard for my mom. But then my dad has Venelin's name tattooed on his chest as well, so I know it was pretty hard for my dad too. But they had another child, which is my eldest brother now, Arnell, who was born in the Philippines, and they came over to the U.S. again after 3 years, probably when Kuya, which is our respectful way of saying good big brother, was almost 2 years old. And then my dad wrote my mom a letter and said that she's coming to the States with him. So I love this picture because this picture on the left is the first picture that my mom and dad and my brother took when they first arrived here in the States. My brother was around 2, it was the 1960s, so you can only imagine the type of adversity they had to face to plant their family here. And they worked really hard. They had a lot of grit and resilience to do so. My mom did not speak conversational English very well. She was taught it in school, and so was my dad somewhat, but he explained it. It was really hard because what they teach you in school is really just grammar and sentence structure. They don't really teach you how to speak it. And really it's the communication, the oral communication that sets the boundaries or the walls up, that sets my dad apart. And my mom apart when my dad was away. So growing up, they communed a lot with other Filipino families that they met through the U.S. Navy, and they became our barkada. Barkada is a special word we call in Tagalog for close friends that are like family. And so within the barkada and within our strong family ties within our own family, we kind of made it through in this country. My mom and dad had 4 other kids, me being one of them, my 2 older sisters, and my other brother, Pat. My 2 older sisters, Yasmin and Francine, who I call Babe, are the ones who raised us and disciplined us in the ways of responsibility and respect. Yasmin, shout out to my oldest sister, Yasmin, because she took the lead in kind of showing us what respect and responsibility looks like. My sister, Babe, she was the smart one and was allowed to stay in her room because she was so smart sometimes. But she also played a big part in watching us. And because she was so smart, she helped inspired us to find opportunities, to go to the library, to find ways. If we wanted to go to the movie, she would map us out a bike route that even though it was miles away, we would get there on time and then make it back on time before the sun went down. But she was just really intelligent and taught us ways to be creative, to be playful, to be a problem solver and a critical thinker. So that's my sister, Babe. My brother, Pat, who was 2 years ahead of me, I annoyed the crap out of him being the little sister and followed everything that he did. But I admired him because he was my protector and my role model in life. And so I actually followed him to college, and he always took care of me, and he was kind of my guidance. He would go 2 years ahead of me, and then he would give me truths, and he would walk me on things that I need to do and things that I don't. Even when I don't want to hear it, he is always taking care of me and advising me to get on the right path and be my best self. So these are the people who I grew up with big, strong family values with. These are the relationships that kind of got me through life in thick and thin. And so this is where I start my relationship journey, that relationships do come first. And through strong relationships, you can have a resilient and well-fulfilled life. And then the birth of the Goins family. Well, little did I know in my first year of teaching in 2007 that I was going to meet the love of my life, Benjamin Goins, on Match.com. So I met Ben on Match.com after my best friend had bought me a subscription because both of us were just married to our jobs and we were not out in the dating world. And so I tried it. I hated it. I canceled it. And then I had a wink from this fellow right here and another guy. So then I got my credit card out and I joined, gave him my email, canceled again, and then it's the birth of our love relationship. So on the left over here is a picture of when we were dating. It was super exciting when we were dating because he was in different cities doing his rotations for medical school, and we were dating towards his end year journey of medical school. And so I got to go to Chicago and North Carolina, Louisiana. And so I got to date him, but excitedly going to these different cities and traveling and visiting with him and using that loan money in our date life. Well, when he applied for residency, he envisioned taking me with him and asked me to marry him. So within 6 months, we planned a wedding and we got married. So that is how we started our Goins family. Well, the two kids in the picture that got married on the altar had no idea what marriage was going to lead us to, but we just knew that we wanted to be together. And so really that motto of just being committed to forever together is what has gotten us to these 13 years. But it has been an adventure the whole time, some up, some down, a lot of learning along the way, but there's no other person who I would love to do family with besides my husband. And both of us, it is what kind of drives us to our faith. It is the kind of thing that drives us to love each other deeply and to know what love really is. And it is the thing that we are just married to, this concept of providing for our family now, doing what's best for our family in the future, and providing a legacy for our kids to have generations of fun with their family as well. So these are a couple of my favorite memories. This is our trip to the Philippines over here when I was wearing the badge and the sunglasses. We took our very first really big trip together with my parents on a island tour for 10 days in the Philippines. We love that. We did a race together, Color Be Rad. I always wanted to run a race with him. He's a runner. I am not. I had asthma growing up, so I can hear myself wheeze and breathe as I run. It's very uncomfortable and not good for my self-confidence, but I'm working up to it. But This is the first race we did together, and I got it on a Groupon, and he was such a trooper as to let colored powder be thrown at us, and we end up walking that race. Young Life Leading with my husband has been a ton of fun. Doing ministry with him is the picture down here at Camp Together, our first camp experience. And that's kind of where we found the value of just having fun and the value of being in a relationship with others, but also we learned a lot about how much we value doing that ministry piece together. So we found the value of doing adventures together as well as doing our own ventures apart. Over here on the right is just how sweet it is to find a home away from home. We loved our experience in South Carolina, his 3 years of residency, and this is how much we loved it. That the next year we actually came back and visited friends, and so that special place has a special place in our heart. And there are still times where we still dream of raising our family with that same community and that special place, and just giving back to those people and those communities. And so hopefully that spot will come through our path again. And then over the corner was I just thought that was the Busch Gardens trip, and the trip itself wasn't really like that big of a deal, but just the fact that we're on merry-go-rounds and we're probably in our 5th year of marriage. But me and Ben are just classically, we are out to have fun. We enjoy each other. We enjoy laughing and joking, and we're kind of funny people. And so, in essence, in our marriage, being adventurous, being enjoyable, valuing each other and loving each other is what we're all about. And I wanted to end this episode of Family Talk just celebrating the fact that God made us parents about 8 years ago. And so these are pictures of when we were celebrating the pregnancy of Reagan, and we had our first baby shower and the cotton candy machine. Down below in the pictures is I asked my mom to get me a cotton candy machine as a gift for my pregnancy. And that is actually the day before I gave birth. And I wanted to enjoy my favorite cotton candy, and that is my husband going along with the ride and humoring me and getting cotton candy with me and using my machine. So we can talk more about the adventures of parenthood when I talk family talk with you next time. But it took us about 2 years to embark on pregnancy where we really wanted to be parents. So then when we found out we were pregnant, we were just ecstatic, and so was our family. They were just ecstatic. But just like marriage, we really had no clue what we were walking into. And because of parenthood, me and Ben are just better people and more committed and resilient in general. And so I hope you guys have a great week and you enjoyed this episode.